hear you.
I thought it was on.
Now she can hear you.
Thank you. We got a good laugh. All right. March 22nd, 2023, work session. All right. Chad, why don't you start us off with the, what are we working on? The white sheet first and then the line sheet, or what do you want to do?
We're going to go ahead and review the current goals first, talk about some of those. Then we'll go through some of the goals that I've identified that is attached to your statement. It's the one just under the agenda. There you go. Some of the things that we'll be working on that I've worked with the departments, we talked about, and these are some of the things that we've accomplished. And then the last page that's in there is the planning commission goal sheet as well. And I wanted you to also have that in your hands and hopefully get familiar with it. But essentially, what we're doing today, we'll go over the council goals as we have them now. We'll talk about what went well, what didn't, and highlight some of the things that we want to continue on with, and then possibly some things that we want to get rid of. This year, as far as goals go for the city staff, what we would like to really concentrate on for this upcoming year is city operations. We've been through a lot of things over the last couple of years, through COVID, through price, through finding people, all of the things that we've been working on. But now with all these changes and the additional people in Gearhart and some of the pressures that we're receiving, we would like to spend some time making sure that our operations is as efficient as possible. We talked a little bit about this in a situation where we were talking about the budget and about job descriptions. Those are going to have to change a little bit to make us more efficient and to cover what it is that we're doing and to help us consider what the future might look like. We're also going to have to look at salary schedules, and this is in this. But those are the kind of things that I would like to mostly concentrate on this year. But the council, you folks are the guiding light here. And we also need to have a brainstorming session about some of the things that you would like to see the city do. My job today is to not sit here and throw dirt on any of these ideas, as complicated as they might be or as expensive as they might be. The job today is to get some of these issues out so that the staff can go back and start looking at what the process would look like and start putting some dollars to some of these ideas. So that way, when we're developing the budget, we can do a better job of developing that as well. The other thing is we will bring this back to you and we'll report to you in future council meetings about some of the things that we found so that you can come along with us during that process. So the first thing that I thought we'd want to do is review the current goals, but actually this is a work session, so we don't have to be as formal here. This is a conversation going back and forth, and I think that that's most important. So with that, is there any questions before we start? Okay. Let's start with the council goals projects, and this came in your packet. It's the one with the green on the top. And it's kind of divided out into some of the different departments, but this will change throughout this process. So what we have here is in the public works area, we've identified water meter replacements, which include hiring a company to get those installed, which also includes, after that, a database update that we want to work on, and would also include meter purchases. To report on this, we're about 75%. That might be a little high, but it's close. We have still some meters that need to get on the ground, and just for your education, again, these meters are more efficient. They'll actually report the water that's going in. It'll help us with our our water conservation plan. And we would like to get all the meters that are the newer style, and that way we can also do wireless meter reading. So that's about 75%. We have had very little luck in finding a company that can come to help us, but I think that that's been pretty true with anything that we would tried to get into these days. You know, with shortages of staff and you know, the cost of things. But I feel like things are starting to loosen up a little bit. Maybe getting back to a little bit more normal. People are starting to staff up. The economy is doing fairly good. So we're feeling pretty good that we should be able to find the repair. But that's a major public works project that we have. Any questions about that?
And the water meter replacement is what, 75%, everything else is zero, right?
The higher company would be, you know, that's how we got this far, but current, to have a current company, we're at zero, but we're looking. Database update is something that's continually ongoing, something that Justine, especially, and Christy have been working on to clean up our database as it is with our current system. That's not the replacing of the database. We'll
Okay.
talk about that a little bit, but that's constantly going on. And, you know, there was quite a few things that were kind of messed up in there, but and then the meter purchases, actually, we've got a lot of the meters that we need to replace already. We've already purchased many of them. We'll need to purchase a few more, but I'll come to the council with that in a future meeting.
So how long, I mean, we have staff on public works that are capable of replacing meters.
And we do. But mostly on a maintenance issue. You know, as meters need to get replaced because they're broken, homes, of course, are going to get new meters. Or any other opportunity that we have to change out these meters. But it's not enough to get all done. To get it done. City of Warrenton did the same thing that we want to do. And the city of Warrenton was able to get their entire city done in one fell swoop with the contractor that they were using. And we have been in contact with that contractor as well, but they haven't been so available. But yes, we constantly put them in.
It's a capacity issue, because you can't just spend all day, every day replacing meters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we could schedule some times and get them freed up and to do that, but it really is a capacity issue. I mean, with the building that's been going on this year and all those things. Every lot, it seems like that's being built upon right now is the most challenging lot left around town. So they've been very busy. So they'll continue to work on it, but I don't think they can get it done in a timely enough manner. Neither is Mark.
Well, is it that we don't have enough volume to call in the contractor that Warren was using, or?
Maybe. I mean, we were able to squeak in a couple of times between the cities, but there are a lot larger cities that employ these guys, and they come through in a train. You know, one person does this, the next person does that, the next person does this, and when it's done, they record the information and they give it to us. And it worked well when we had them. They replaced a lot, probably 50% of our meters almost. So that's what we're angling for then, is to come up with a group like that.
And you and Mark are working on that?
Mark is working on it, you know, I'll assist him any way I can, but you know, we're pushing it. Okay.
Before we move on, I have a question. Did the company, the database company ever get back to you or they
For training,
been more helpful?
they've been, and they've gotten back to us with two types of training. One type of training is where they send somebody down, and which is what I would prefer, but it's about $6,000 to $8,000. It's about $2,000 a day, because they don't have any local, so they have to fly them in, and then we have to pay salary, plus we have to pay all the expenses, plus they have to come down. But they do have some online Zoom type of things.
Is it something we could send you to cheaper?
I'm not sure that maybe. He thought that after talking to him, he thought that the Zoom would be good enough for us. So I was planning on.
So when you say online, you're
scheduling
talking
this in May.
about Zoom.
Yeah, where they actually log in with you and look at things. And he came down and he was at the conference in Seaside, and he stopped by just to say hi. And I had told him and showed him, because a lot of times it's me showing him a paper that says, how do I make this work over here in the system? Like, why is this happening? And I told him, I said, you can't get that on Zoom. I would have to say, okay, well, could you hold while I go scan it? Because it kind of evolves as you're talking to them. So, yeah, anyway, I'm working on it. I'm
Okay.
hoping May-ish.
Okay. And as I recall, the conversation was that Astoria is struggling also. Was there, I mean, no way that we could combine with
Training.
Astoria?
And, or maybe Warrenton, I did not
Or I'm
reach
sorry,
out to the
Warrenton, I
other
meant
city,
Warrenton.
yeah, I haven't reached out to the other cities, so that
Okay.
might be something that I could do, yeah.
Okay.
To piggyback on that a little bit. We were talking about last year about potentially getting some new software and the costs of some of those things, even up into $60,000 and $70,000 for that. And I've talked to Justine about this a little bit, and we're not ready to move forward with a new software program right now. I think that what the work that Justine and the team is doing to update the database and get things in there correctly, to make sure to get rid of all the chaff and keep the wheat. We need to do more of that, and that's just going to take time, you know, through time of working with the residents, things that come up, and when we have time to be able to tackle some of those things. So we're not quite ready to move forward with a new database because we want to clean this one up. We don't want the garbage in, garbage out problem. So we're holding back a little bit on that, making this system work. It's not the most efficient, but it is working right now. And we're getting more and more comfortable with it. And we'd like to report more in the future about making a change, but not right yet.
And we've received no feedback on the report that we submitted. That we approved and we submitted. Yeah. Water conservation report, where we thought that some of our issues might be called out.
No,
Yeah.
no,
We heard back, it's fine, we had no,
yeah, there was no.
They understood the issues that we were having and he was accurate when he said that this isn't, what we're facing isn't unusual.
yeah,
Okay.
we had no problems with the
No.
report.
Yeah, and yeah, that has been approved.
Okay. Okay.
And that's on here again. I didn't- no problem. Any other questions about that? Water rights, water rate study, those are actually two different projects that we need to separate out. The water rate study has started. We've got a consultant that has some information and starting to develop a program. And this is a consultant you already approved. I think it was $13,000. It's not gonna take a lot of time, but soon we're gonna start getting into having to provide a lot of information for the team. And I'm kind of balancing out the budget process and being able to do that. But the water rate study is in motion. The water rights portion of that is the city talking to Water Resources Division and trying to get our additional water rights or new water rights for the city. That one's going to take a little bit more time for us, and we're going to have to get some specialists in there. There were some attorneys that were available that specialized in water things in Oregon. They've all since retired. So we're still looking for that. That's going to have to be an active project moving forward as well. But I don't have a lot of forward motion on that at the moment. Done the conservation plan, got the water loss prevention percentage project. I think 75% on that is also maybe a little high. There's still some studies we need to do and bring a contractor in to be able to do water leak detection in the city of Deer Park. We haven't gotten there yet. But that is on the list as well, and it should remain. With the water rate study project is to investigate the system development charges, and this is something that our consultant will also weigh in on for the city council. So you will be able to consider the possibility of system development charges for the city of Deer Park to help with our water revenue system. Any question about page 1? So we're going to keep the water meter replacement on there, water rights, water rate study. And yeah, this page does not change that much. Page 2. Preventive maintenance. One for Mark McFadden. We've done some work on the preventative maintenance, but we don't have a full-on project preventative maintenance program. at the moment, we've got a good solid one for the water treatment facility and that, but Mark is still needing time to work on the Deer Park preventative maintenance program. But again, this is one of the things that we want to concentrate on, the operations of the city. We want to accomplish that this year. It's very important to making sure that we're doing things as efficiently as possible and things are in good shape. The city's pretty small. We've got a lot of this in place. We just need to bring it together and make it into one solid program. So we'll be working on that this year as well. Sidewalk repair. We didn't get very far on sidewalk repair this year. There are some areas that Mark has identified, but we haven't done a full inventory. I know that the mayor had suggested that sometimes we have a whole group of people that are walking Deer Park all day long, and they can probably do some sort of inventory for us too. And we welcome that kind of help. But this is something that we need to improve upon. We do have the one project that has started. We're doing sidewalk replacement here on Pacific Way. We have signed the documents with the person, the engineer, to help us design it, and we've also hired a surveyor to start that, to give us a survey. And then we will be able to get a better price and know exactly how much sidewalk we can build. So that is rolling, that's happening. You're looking at me like, why do you need an engineer to do a sidewalk?
I'm just worried, I mean, this sidewalk extension that you guys put on up here beyond the post office and everything like that, I think it's obtrusive.
Is what?
Is obtrusive. You know, I mean, this town's, you know, for 70 years or whatever it is, the sidewalk out here in Pacific Way has served the public just fine. You know, I realized that when it was put in, you didn't have the handicap rules and regulations and everything like that, but, you know, I mean, if you drive around this town and you've got people out there walking in the summertime, most of the people don't use the sidewalk anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there's a desire of the team to put sidewalks all throughout Deer Park. You know, that sidewalk was included when we did the water treatment facility, so it was just part of that project as well. The 10th Street Beach approach sidewalks we put in that are along there, but that was kind of a safety issue as well, and drainage and the issues that we're having there. So we were able to accomplish that, but yeah, we have no desire of putting sidewalks in, but this is a repair issue of what we do have, which needs help.
Are they gonna take from the curb all the way to the south side of the sidewalk there and pave all that?
For the piece that we're looking up on Pacific Way here on the south side, from about across the street from Terrahars down to about the sweet shop is what we're looking at right now. That's what we wrote a grant for. Fun fact, we did receive a grant for about $100,000 for that. That was going to do a lot more sidewalk a few years ago, but it's been pared down a little bit, and that's what we're working on. So I'd like to keep that in those on the sheet. Upgrade water main on Highway 101. This is something that does need to happen, but we're also waiting for an opportunity. The pipes out there are old, but we may have some opportunities coming up depending on how the ODOT funding goes for the transportation system plan ideas that we have. Community will be involved, but that would be the opportune time to do water main replacement, or excuse me, water main replacement down there, so that it's open. Highway's already being taken apart. We'd rather do it that way than having to repave the highway ourselves. So far so good. It's adequate. It's running. We've also completed some loop systems around town that actually took a little bit of pressure off of that area as well, or can take some pressure off that area, especially if there's a break. So we can keep it on, but I don't think we're going to be able to get to that this year.
What's the 25%?
I think that's the transportation systems plan, 25% plan. We have a plan.
Getting there to, get a plan.
Yeah, we have a plan.
You know, my understanding when I was looking into all of that stuff was that ODOT's gonna do their thing, and I already told you it's very important to me that when they tear that up, I fully support while it's torn up, let's do all of this, because that's one of my pet peeves is when they put down a street and then somebody comes in 2 weeks later, tears it up
Mhm.
and then does something else to it. But also along those lines, we have some of our own things that we have to do that I think above and beyond the transportation plan as far as planning for when ODOT puts in whatever they're gonna put in, such as signage as far as you're entering Gearhart or you're leaving Gearhart, whether we wanna do a lighting plan, what kind of landscaping we wanna have down there. And I think that's something that we should probably include under that project as far as if you wanna tie them all together, because that's gonna require public input. You know, I would hate for us to design something and then have everybody come in and throw shoes at us because they don't like what we decide. Let's let them decide.
That's a good part about the transportation systems plan, is it threw out a lot of ideas, none that we're tied down to. And
Okay.
when we get to that in the funding process through ODOT, it'll be another conversation with the city council and the community through that, I would imagine, so that we can figure out the best way to approach it and take care of some of those things. Lighting and landscaping is in some of those plans. Signage, I didn't consider, but I'm sure that would be a good time as well.
Okay.
Okay, at the bottom of the page, the evacuation supplies and facilities, we're pretty good there. Inventory and organization is going on. And we still have, as far as emergency supplies, one of the project that we're working on that has to do with the power supply that's up on the water reservoir. And we're just awaiting to hear if we won that grant or not that we signed up for. So hopefully that's pretty soon. We'll figure that out. As far as other emergency supplies and projects, we don't have any coming up for this year that we could identify that we need to do. What we have identified and what we're working on is trying to put the CERT team back together and get that going. And they have had about 3 or 4 meetings, and Division Chief Hutch has been working along with them. And so we're hopeful. Any questions? Workforce affordable housing and the housing study, that's ongoing. It's not necessarily 100% because that's something that we're continually having to work with. We are involved in that process through the county and the other cities, learning some more information, but that will really come down to if any changes are recommended to the planning commission, the city council. So we're just kind of waiting for those to come out with what might work for our town, and we'll make recommendations. Zoning small space housing is just part of that, you know, as a possibility.
So do we have land here that we can actually put in workforce housing or affordable housing?
City owned? No.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be city owned. I mean, it just seems to me like everything east of the highway is pretty well developed within the city limits.
There are some larger lots on that side, you know, single homeowners or single lot. Whereas all the other lots that were similar to that are now streets, you know, Bailey Lane and all that. It used to be all individual people. It's a challenge. There could be. And who knows what the future of, if there's an urban growth boundary expansion or what have you, that's another possibility. There's not a lot of opportunity in Gearhart, no.
Well, it just seems to me that the cost of land, I mean, you know, when those people sell the 5-acre parcel or whatever it is, you know, cost of it, you know, and the cost of development of it, and the cost of housing and everything. I mean, you know, I've been in the construction business almost my whole life. I don't really see where it's gonna be affordable housing.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, we got that project that Kerry Johnson's been working on down the way. We've got the fourplex that's gone in. So people are starting to think about that and be able to figure out a way to make it work. But the rents are very high. But I mean, when you're looking at $1,700, $1,800, and $2,200 a month as being affordable in this area.
That's a mortgage.
Yeah, it really is. And so it's a tough problem for Gearhart to solve. But I can say that so far the planning commission has been very open to assisting these people in getting this job done, not getting in the way, but trying to make things work where it's appropriate. And we'll continue that. And then as this housing and affordable housing study and this program that we're in and some more information comes out, then there might be some other things for us to consider.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I said to RJ Marks, I mean, I think it's a countywide, you know, local Canby, Seaside, Deer Park, Warrenton, and Astoria problem. And I think then you start talking to Martin Nygaard.
And that's what we're working on. Well, not necessarily Martin, but I know that his name has been thrown around quite a
Well,
bit.
he's got just a whole heck of a lot of land up there.
But the counties and cities are together on this, and they are meeting about it.
And we struggle because of the septic system issue here, but we've done some considerable things between us and the planning commission over the last year. I mean, although the windjammer is not quite a success yet, from what I understand, it's moving. I mean, we at least allowed that. There was a thought that it needs to happen, and so we support it. And then with the apartment
The Falvey apartments.
change
Mhm.
up there, we have some more, what are they, townhomes being built up here.
And there are accommodations made by the planning commission to allow that to happen a little bit easier,
Right.
but without throwing anything out that was necessary.
Right, so I think we're doing what we can, and I think this needs to remain on there just as a reminder that we need to continue using, having that in the back of our minds when we're making decisions, all of us.
Yeah, and for right now, it's going to be, making those decisions as they come up and being open to trying to provide some of the sound.
We even made changes to the commercial zone, the C1 zone, to make it able to have housing above the businesses a new building came in.
That's a good point.
So we've made, the planning commission's done some stuff recently.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for your help on that.
Yeah.
Okay, dune vegetation ordinance. This is something that we need to revamp a little bit, in particular, a management plan. So I think this is a high priority for the city of Europe right now. We're mowing, we just mowed recently out there, but there's more that needs to be done, and we need a better plan. I have a draft of a plan ready for the city council to look at. And so when we're able to get that on the agenda, we can start working on it when you're ready.
When
So,
was the mowing, sorry, Proston? When you said just recently, in the last 2 weeks?
No.
Yeah,
That was a couple months ago. Yeah, we're in birding season right now,
okay,
so that's shut down. I'm not giving any tree cutting permits, mowing permits until the end of July. And that's the side, that's for the nesting, ground nesting season.
okay.
so, I mean, I'm all in favor of you guys cutting the grass down there because, we haven't had a grass fire threatening your heart since I put the firework in.
Yeah, we've had a few.
But it's been, if you guys have been mowing it, it's a heck of a lot easier to put out a slow moving grass fire than it is in the northwest wind blowing. So, I encourage that. My question is, for the people that live between Pacific Way and D Street, that home down there, are we getting their permission to go in front of their houses?
No, they're doing that for us. Most of those properties are paying for that on their own with permits that the city gives them to allow them to do that.
Good.
Not only that, but we've also had really good success in people that live at the end where it is city property. They pay for more than half of that mowing that's been going on because they're also paying us, which is part of what the history of some of those oceanfront homes were, is when they used to come and visit, they'd send the kids out for a day, pull all the little Scotch broom out. That was just part of the tradition. Well, that's gone by the wayside. We have more, so now they're helping us out by providing some funds. So we've had some pretty good public-private partnerships. So that dune vegetation ordinance and management plan is what we're looking at, and depending on how the future agendas go, we may be able to get to that. We've got a lot of work done with that already with the help of Crest as well. Parks and Trail Master Plan, we have that. It's finished, can always be changed. And on my sheet that I provided here today, we'll get into some of the projects that are in there that we can talk about. Second one, done, clean signs. Mark McFadden, this is something that the council has instructed us to do in the past. Cleaning and replacing a lot of the signs. We didn't get as far as we want to do this year on that as well. So I would like to keep that on and keep that as a goal. Preventive maintenance as well. Trees overhanging, that's ongoing. The storms of recently were very helpful. We didn't want to cut them. But, you know, so far so good, and we're pretty reactive to that. But we don't have any plans to take out any major slots of trees in here.
I think it was last summer or fall. There was a tree company that was trimming everything along the power lines. Is that contracted out with the power company in coordination with them
It's part of our,
in the right of way?
what's the name of our agreements? Franchise agreements, thank you. So in the franchise agreements that we make with the cable company, the power company and all that, they have permission to do some tree trimming to protect their lines.
Yeah.
They don't normally come to us, with the exception of the power company. They always let us know what they're doing. And power company uses some of those other companies. I can't even pronounce the one that starts with an A.
Aspen.
Thank you. That's them contracting. That has nothing to do with the city, although we're aware of it.
I was curious if we like put in requests if there was, if Public Works Department has issues with trees in that area underneath power lines, that we make requests of them to come in and do that, so kind of preventative.
Yeah, maybe not under preventative, that's kind of the area that they take care of, they do a lot of that preventative work. But we do use 3 different contractors here in the city that are for major tree removal, you know, that takes all the chipping and the larger logs that fall and things like that. We use them, sometimes they get in contact with the power company to make sure things are safe. But yeah, we use contractors for probably 90% of the tree removal, maybe more like 50% of the tree removal. For what we do around here, because it's just a little bit beyond our capabilities.
Those guys are all local.
Well, we, such as Big B's, such as Arbicare, and such as Quality Tree, Justin Day. And we try to spread it out a little bit when they do it, but it also depends on how active they are. And they take good care of us.
So Chad, getting back to when people call in and say, hey, here's an issue like at the end of the street, I notice when I'm at the stop sign and I look right and left, I can't see oncoming cars. The bushes or trees need to be trimmed here. They call the city and then they start, are they triaging those based on this is a health and safety issue, we need to get to this, and then this is just a, you know, side issue, unsightly thing, or?
Most everything that's called in, we take care of.
Okay.
You know, because it could be a branch that's come low or hanging dangerous, or a tree that's come over, or something that's been overgrown. Some of the things the public works guys, they have a system to where they occasionally push things back on the streets that always grow up and in, you know, Hager, what is it, 3rd or 2nd Street, you know, those kinds of things. But otherwise, we try to take care of it immediately.
Okay.
So that's some of the things we're working, and I'd like to keep those on. The next one is fire station resilience preparedness. I've got some more information. I'd like to talk about that a little bit about the future project. Next few pages here after we get done with this.
So circle back to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which includes the fire station relocation. The alternative power supply for the reservoir is what I was talking about earlier. We're just waiting for that grant to come through. Gas fuel supply was completed. We have both diesel and gasoline now as an emergency supply. I think we have 250 gallons of gasoline and 750 gallons of diesel. The 750 gallons is really set aside for the water treatment facility backup generator. But to keep that fuel healthy and turning, we occasionally fill our trucks up with it, the fire department, the tractor. But that is our alternative power fuel supplies that we have, and we feel like we're in much better shape than we were a year ago. So that's those sections. Next section is policy, procedures, operation manual, organizational chart. That was part of the Paulinas project with us in our handbook. That has been completed. That will need to be revisited. That's part of the process. There's some of the things that we need to take care of. So that's gonna be staying on but in another iteration, but right now that's finished, so we're gonna take it off of this sheet. Ridge path extension beyond Deerheart Loop. I have that as a project for the future. We just need to do some investigation on potentially lengthening that trail. When we have time, we can get into that project. It's not a large priority for the city at the moment, but we're always going to look for possibilities. It's not a lot of way to make that through, so we'd be lucky to have it done, but you know, we should take a serious look at it and get the people involved in talking about it. Path maintenance and clearing, that's an ongoing project with us. Duncan Crossing has been completed, that's finished. Other than I understand, there's a tennis shoe floating around somewhere over there, and I'm gonna check on that tomorrow.
Actually, I meant to go, I'm on my next walk, I'm gonna take something with me so I can collect it, you don't have to worry about it. I'll get it by this time next week.
Thank you, I think that was the mayor that mentioned that to me as well. You know, what's going on, so.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday and I was like, if I just had something, I could scoop it out, and it's actually floating pretty well right now, because there's a lot of water out there.
But that is working really well, and people enjoy it, and I think that it's just kind of, the path is starting to get worn in really good on the other side as well. But there needs to be always maintenance and clearing down on that, and so that is ongoing. Next on page 4 is the financial accrual versus cash, and I think we solved that issue. We've had some experts come in and talk to us about what's best for Deerheart, and that's what we're doing right now, and it seems to be working out pretty well. And I think Justin would recommend that we stay the same as well. Recommendations from the auditor, we've been working through those, and that's an ongoing process. But this year's audit should be really pretty good. Review budget statements, one of the sides we Justin accomplished that. City Hall update and remodel. That's a project that I have on, something that I'd like to consider moving forward. We need some more space here. We're all on top of each other, and with as busy as we are going to have to talk about what that might cost and some ideas to remodel this building a little bit better, to work a little bit better. The larger fire station idea did not go through, obviously, and that was something we were holding back on the City Hall, because that could have afforded us some of the offices, such as the police and the fire, to move up into wherever that is. That still may be in the future, but our need is now. We've got multiple people in single offices, and it's just difficult. Very efficient. Self-sustaining community, energy efficient. This is something I've been hearing here for a while now, and you know, we don't have any particular projects. When we look at a new vehicle, we'll look at, you know, what the possibilities are. When we look at the opportunity to save energy and conserve, we'll look at those opportunities, but we don't have any projects set aside for that right now. So I think that that's something that can remain, but it's something we're always going to be working on. But you know, right now I don't have any projects unless the city council would recommend some. That includes the alternative fuel vehicles, and I think that has to do with planning as well. So growth area, that's something that we can talk about as well. That's something that we're still interested in looking at. How should Deerheart expand? And I think that's still on our radar to take a look at, and we are working towards. We're currently working on it in regards to just getting information from DLCD and Peter, and trying to figure out what our next steps are. So we'll have another report. Dashboard metrics, not so much. We have this goal sheet. I don't think we celebrated enough. But Christy and I have been talking about this. We want to develop something that you can look at very easily and know where the city is at with most of our projects and our work. You could see that we're in the green, we're in the yellow, we're in the red, depending on how well things are going. And that way you're more into what's going on. That's a goal of ours that we haven't accomplished yet. Stay. Page 6. Quarterly reports. We've got that pretty well. We've been missing public works a few times, but we'll be back up on that. Quarterly council report giving at council meetings. We're doing that almost monthly. We're trying to pare that down a little bit so it doesn't take so much time. But I think that's also part of the metrics, the dashboard, that project that I was just talking about. Including celebrating different department goals, council goals, and report quota. Including project tracking. So those all kind of work together. And we want to keep those on this goal sheet because we want to make some positive moves towards getting that done. These planning commission ideas, these were added to the planning commission goals, so we just scratched those off for now. But I did include on the back of this what the planning commission goals are. It's on the very last page, so you can understand some of the things they're working on. And they are working on some of the things that the city council was wanting them to look at. The comp plan review, and some of the other things we'll go over here. Well, I guess it includes these items that are right here, updating the Deerheart City Charter. Also the comp plan.
Yeah.
Looking at updating that, and those are big projects. Did you have something, Ms. Dana?
No, I was going to ask about the comp plan, because according to the one that we have online, it was last updated in 2019. But I was told very forcefully by somebody else that it's been updated since then. And I know when we update it, we're supposed to submit it to
The LCD.
else, yeah. So I was just curious as to what our schedule is. Is it every 2 years we're looking at that to see if any changes need to be made, or is there any kind of a regular schedule for looking at that?
No,
Okay.
not on the comp plan and not on the city charter. That is kind of on an as-needed basis, but I think that we're to a time where those should be revisited. So just because it's not on an automatic thing, I think that this is something that we need to accomplish, and they're both pretty big jobs. So we'll work with council, figure out what's important, you know, and then talk about how to get into that. But I don't have a plan.
Thank you.
Contracting we worked on, we accomplished, that had to do with budget. And the city council passed that ordinance recently. Next page, on page 7, video document about Deerheart. Well, I haven't had time to get out the camera and take some photos, but what the planning commission has accomplished is they did put we have a brochure now, a card, if you will, that has information about our comp plan and who Deerheart is based on our comp plan. And we're using that as an education process, both to developers that come into the city. We're sending it out. I think that Justin's been stuffing these already. We're sending these out to all of the citizens of Deerheart as well. And then we'll always have them here to give out and to make sure that people have, so they understand kind of what Deerheart's about. It's a little educational process. I'm not saying that we're going to do a video this year, and I'd like to just kind of put that on the back burner, if you will, unless it's really important to the city council, and we can make that a bigger deal. But I think right now we're doing a pretty good job.
So video, but the fireman's involved. I'm good on
I have no cameras, sir. Fireman's Ball is coming up. Save your money for the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and the gaming. Thanks for this anyway. A2 and riparian zones, tighten up the definition of the borders. That's something that belongs to the planning commission to start with. And just to give you an idea what that project is, it is on the goals, I believe. That is looking at adding a riparian area to A2 aquatic zone. That's something that is not necessarily needs to be done, but it needs to be investigated as to whether or not that's a good idea or not. And that was something that the planning commission, especially Sharon Klopper, is very interested in. Kids play equipment. Thank goodness. Done.
And I was over there yesterday and it looks awesome. I love the book nook. I love the way that you did the parking, because, you know, you can easily get from your car to there if you're not able to traverse this hill over there. I think you guys did a good job.
It's been pretty awesome. We've been going like every day.
Yeah.
That's
What's your favorite playpoint?
Okay, well.
I think I saw
Nash
that.
isn't the slide, it's his favorite.
Merry-go-round's pretty cool.
The slide's kind of sketchy though, you go really fast and you fly off pretty quick.
Yeah. That's what the chair is.
And you're on your back, you're laying on your back with chips.
I was looking at the merry-go-round like, do we, don't we, but we went forward. Actually, it's not finished. The paving and the parking, per the planning commission, when I went to them for a conditional use permit, they asked that we do not provide parking for the general public on that side. Because they wanted to protect the neighborhood, and not turn it into a parking lot. That parking area will be asphalted as soon as the batch plant starts up, and it will be for one ADA parking space.
Okay.
And then the only other recommendation we have is from the mayor is like maybe separate the puppy poop papers a little bit farther away from the library, and I think we can accomplish that as well. Just seems to be a weird juxtaposition, and I agree. Any other questions about that? Okay, no new parks on the, never mind.
Oh, wait a minute, there is a sign. Tom Tease is gonna come in here the next month and ask us about our sign.
We're working on that.
Okay, so make sure we have that.
And we're also kind of working on a date for an opening. And we've got an idea of kind of when to do that. I know we've got the Easter egg hunt coming up. We're not going to use that as a grand opening portion of that, but we're looking at a future date here fairly soon. I've talked to Berkeley about that yesterday and her dad, and so they're in. So I'll work that out here soon.
But again, I know I put you under the gun at the last meeting, and I appreciate you all getting that done. I think that's gonna be something really special at the Easter egg hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, the fire department's gonna have fun with that. All right, so RV parking ordinance. That is an older goal that we did accomplish, having to do with residential RV parking. Future parking ordinances, RV, garbage, and things that have to do with what we're dealing with right now are back on the agenda. We're gonna be talking about that soon. We have a deadline of July 1 to enact some of these things, and this is part of, and some of you are not aware, I think, I talked to most of you, but we are working with a new attorney that we've signed a document with and is going to be helping us with, and we're starting those meetings on Friday to help us with some ideas about homeless and to help us change our ordinances so that they work within the current law.
So I was actually reviewing the RV parking ordinance tonight in my book of ordinances. So is it because of the Ninth Circuit Court that we have to change it?
Well, I think that was the impetus, and then to work also with ORS, Oregon Revised
Right.
Statute, as well. And that's why we're inviting this attorney. His name is Chad Jacob. And he used to work with the League of Oregon Cities as our main attorney. He comes from San Francisco and he was a city attorney for San Francisco. He's been around here for a long time and he's got some good experience. Astoria, I highly recommend.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a little meeting with that on just with a few of the counselors, I think the mayor and Dana are going to attend that. And not to get too sideways, but also on that day, there's a new meeting coming up within the county with all the emergency managers, city managers, and some staff to start discussing on the ways that this money is going to start coming to us and how we can come together and figure out some plans. So these next two meetings are going to be great. I don't have anything to report on the agenda for those at the moment, but
So I guess what I'm asking is, then none of our parking ordinances will be can be in effect because of the homeless issue.
well,
It's not that they can't be in effect, it's just that the Ninth Circuit has said it's illegal to penalize or to criminalize certain behavior for folks that have no place else to live. And so, and again, that's a conversation for another. So it doesn't mean that our ordinances are no longer any good. It just means in their application, we have to be
Aware.
careful, and I think that there's gonna be some things that we need to do, but we really do need the legal advice
Yeah.
before we do anything, so
I
that's
agree.
as much as I'd like to say on it right now.
We don't need another loss.
No, it's not to say that we won't be able to do things, it's just, you know, we need to, and I think now that the county's getting interested in working as a county, it's gonna be better for all of us because this population is, they're much more organized than people understand. They communicate very well and they move from place to place. And what we need to be doing is working together and have a system that we're all doing similar things or learning from each other what's worked and what hasn't worked. So I think that's great that Chad's getting involved.
And we will have some work to do.
Okay,
So,
yeah, for sure.
Not sure exactly what that's going to be, but I'm looking forward to learning more. Which kind of includes those three things. Noise ordinance, contractor work hours was completed, thanks to Brent Warren, Council Warren. On page 8, Deerheart, speaking of Brent, the Deerheart zip code project is, I'm not sure, it's in the federal government. We have put all the information forward. We've made the application. Now it stays within USPS, and I don't have a lot of information to report, but I will. We're starting to dig in on that again, but it's just a slow process. Legacy tree project, and I need to make an apology to the city council about trees as well. I think the mayor brought this up to me as well. You know, I don't know if this is the right time here, but you know, Sharon should have been on the agenda for today's work session, but I just got buried and I forgot about it. We were working with Sharon on it. We have made some forward motion, but you asked me to do it. I did not do that, and for that, my apologies. But I would like to ask you if you week after next during the city council meeting, if you would mind potentially getting together. I haven't confirmed everything out, but potentially getting together at 6:30 and having a small work session prior to the city council meeting next month.
I can do that.
You know, Carrie, that doesn't work. Mary, that doesn't.
It'll work. I'll just be Zoom.
Okay. So I would like to try to schedule that. Christy will get a hold of you. She's aware of it. She's trying to put some things together. I think we've got all the information we need now, and I think we're ready for a good conversation.
I kind of want to add, because I was working on this for a while, and one of the things that you need for a legacy tree project, legacy trees are trees that have a history, like George Washington slept under this tree, or this was planted by Abraham Lincoln. Those are legacy trees. And as far as I know, Deerheart doesn't have any historical trees. I mean, maybe we do, I just don't know about
We know of Scotch broom.
them.
There is some history about Scotch broom.
Yes, well, I'm just letting you know that's what a legacy tree is.
So it's not a historical tree, it's a legacy tree.
Well-
It's got something
Historical,
It's,
attached.
has some value to the history of
Yes.
Deerheart as, so,
yes.
okay. Well, we have a lot of historians in Deerheart that we could probably put it out to the public and ask them.
And that would really help with the project.
Yeah, and I think Sharon Hoffer is also interested
Yes.
in her part of the legacy trees, to take some of the most beautiful trees in Deerheart and look at trying to figure out a way to protect them or have a process.
You can still do that, but I'm just saying you can't call it a legacy tree. That's just thrown out there.
So we should drop the legacy.
Well, I mean,
We call it tree.
you could just call it a tree board.
Tree board.
What they're,
It's
no
called a
jokes,
slab.
no, it's just don't, I know all the tree board jokes, but
I think the planning commission is going to be talking about the tree and the tree permitting process.
sure,
Next
that would be
meeting.
good.
Next meeting, potentially. So that's on the radar.
Is it? It's not on the agenda. But it might be. Is that what you mean by?
Correct. We got quite a lot on this next agenda coming up with some zone change issues. So I'm not sure how they prioritized it, but it's on the radar.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
And this would be making improvements to the tree cutting permitting process potentially. Okay. Hybrid Downtown Business Committee. I guess Centennial Park's kind of in there. We had some forward motion on that. We were getting together during the COVID period of time. Right now, we don't have a really good association with downtown in Gearhart. You know, this is something that we have also left up to them to try to come together as a group and, you know, make some recommendations or be involved in the city. But I think that we're gonna see more of this, you know, with the potential of the incoming, you know, Good Times getting started. The store has been purchased and we have developers looking at the vacant lot that they own it and they're trying to figure out ways to put that vacant lot together. So I think there are some things that are happening for downtown as well. We're just gonna have to be very careful on how we develop that. But I don't have anything to report on there, and I don't know that we need to keep anything on the task list now, but you can make recommendations to us when we get done with this list. Culvert, Pacific Way and the Ecoxy. This is something Mayor Carey had brought up to us 4 years ago. And we haven't made a lot of progress on looking at our culverts and seeing how we can improve them, both for the health of the river and for the resiliency of Gearhart. But what we have done is we've been working with NOAA, with the Mechanical Watershed Council, and he has identified a grant that is available to the city, and it's a pretty big potential grant, and he is beginning to write that and wants to work with the city, and it all has to do with culverts and the health of that. So I'll have more to report in the future. I don't know exactly what the timeline is on that, but this is something that Noah discussed with me about a month and a half ago, and so I thought that is positive movement towards that project. Water bond refi, when are our water bonds done?
3 years.
Sorry to put you on the
8
spot.
years.
I think we got
We have 3 years on one.
3 and then 4.5, I think, is where we're at with that, so we're getting pretty close. That'll save people $1.27-ish per thousand coming up, so we're getting really close on those bonds. But there's no need to, especially right now, there's no need to refi them. We're in pretty good shape. Update codes and ordinance book. That's a big project that we've been talking about. We have 2 different books that we work out of, and neither one of them is exactly 100%. So we are.
Is that 100% complete, 100% what?
Well, we've got all the information, it's just not 100% together.
Right, so when we go to our code book, we're looking at a code that may be obsolete and not even there anymore because we've done something and we don't have an updated book.
Not necessarily a code book that you folks should have, but there's an older code book that has a lot of kind of some ordinances that didn't make it into the new code book.
Right, the ones that are still active.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, from a long time ago, and nothing really consequential, and they're still in effect, and we still use them. But to get that together, what we intend on doing is getting all of our documents digitized, bringing this code book and these ordinances to a company that specializes in this, and getting them all online, searchable with hyperlinks, chapters, and all that. So it's very simple for you and us and the residents of Gearhart to be able to go through that. So that's something that's important to us. I don't have a timeline for that right yet, but it's up there.
It's gonna become more important as we have 2 new police officers in town trying to figure out, you know, what they can enforce and what they can't, so.
Great. Which we'll talk about in a little bit too. Audit staff ongoing. We have the audits. This is more about changing our auditors, and I don't think it needs to be on here for right now. Goals list from the city administrator review successful ? Fire station bond. Well, that didn't work out very well. I wanted to say maybe it was 30. Well, it was 36% done. But yeah, this is something that we need to talk about. Dashboard for council goals. And goals on track greater than 50%. I think we're 25% towards that project. I think we're close to 50% on the projects that we're working on. But I don't have a good system to show you that right now. That's part of the dashboard. successful changes in staff due to retirements. We've made some big moves with the fire station, and we're still having challenges with the police department, but we're rolling towards that. As a matter of fact, we're getting close to a police officer date to where we can start interviews, and the council's going to be involved in that this year. I think currently we've got 4 candidates, and we're trying to set that up for near the middle to end of next month.
Okay.
Is when that would work best.
Okay.
We have fire police chief position out. I've received 1 so far that I know of, but they did it incorrectly, so we got that straightened away. I haven't gotten an update from the company that we're using on whether or not they've received any at the moment, but that is ongoing. It started, it's out, it's posted, and I've had some calls and people that are interested. So
You're referring to applications. You've received 1 application?
we did, and we weren't supposed to.
Right.
It was supposed to go directly to them, and I haven't talked to them today about whether or not they've received any other applications. So I don't have anything to report, but that's something we'll be getting into here soon. Planning, budgeting, building assistant, we accomplished that with Angelina. So that one is going to be removed. Implementing recommendations from the park committee. We'll talk about that in one of the next documents. Determine how the city's commitment to the Urban Solutions Health Project will impact building open spaces, consumer education, etc. Just today, we had our very last Urban Solutions meeting. It went really well. This is the Urban Solutions is done now. Now Crest is going to be in charge of the commitments, and they're going to help the cities through some of these commitments, including things like the potential for culling or making changes to our fence ordinance, or we've already got the non-feeding ordinance and those sorts of things. Public education is a part of that. So now that that is finished, we're going to start putting rubber to the road. I don't think that there's any particular goals for the city council in that right at the moment.
Let's go to the planning commission first, all right?
They've been kind of toying with it around a little bit, but they just haven't taken the time yet. But now we've got, I think, a support system that's going to continue to move that forward. In Crest and Denise Lockman, she's been hired by Oregon Solutions to keep it moving. Code enforcement officer, Ms. Rita, this is something that has improved with us, with Angelina. She's tough. And I think that right now we don't have the capacity to be able to hire another employee at the moment, nor the space. But we have seen improvements, some projects that we're working on, but with Angelina in place, things have gotten better.
Do you know how much time or what percentage of time she spends on code enforcement?
No, I don't, but I do know that that's going to be a topic of here in the future, something that Justine brought up and that we need to work on is to redo our job descriptions so that they work a little bit better, and that's when we'll do some investigation on what that is. But it's not a huge amount. Really, her concentration right now has been building and planning. Sure. But she's great at helping with code enforcement. So I think we should take that off now. I don't think that we should look at, I don't know, and that's up to the council, but I don't think that at the moment we need to look forward to hiring another person. I'd like to try to do it within the team that I have.
You have my permission.
The rest of those are out.
And so the lower one we can take off also.
Yes, because we hired and still training the planning assistant, and she's training me as well. But she's been doing a great job. I'm super happy with her team. Much different. That's a good thing. All right. So that's what we've been working on. Now we'll kind of get you this one. Page 2 of the white document. We'll let you know some of the things that we're interested in working on. So dollar amounts are estimated, some of them are just wild guesses, and we can get more deep into what it is that you think is important.
But if there's something in here that you would like to talk more about or you want to identify as being important, please stop me and say this is something that we're very interested in as well. Because I can prioritize those a little bit higher. We're looking at, the financial software. I've already talked to you about that. We're going to kind of hold off on that for a moment until we get things fixed, which includes cleaning our current system up. Remodeling for additional office space, carpet, and furniture. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to cost here and how we can push this building out, but I'm going to start doing some investigation on what that costs. Currently, we have about $280,000 into our building reserve fund. So we do have some funds to accomplish some of this. I don't know if it's going to take $200,000, but we do need to expand a little bit. Replace shingles on roofs and eaves. That's already kind of been started. We've got some gutter quotes. We're still not sure we're going to be able to put cedar shingles back on, as they're a little difficult to find and expensive, but we need to get that going on. We have some rock repair here on this side of the building that we need to take care of. We want to repaint city hall signs, fire department signs. And then the job description project and the updating of salary schedules are two projects that we need to work on. And those are both of those are very high priorities for us.
Police job description.
All of them. Yes, because we've had a lot of change over the last few years.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is working, but it's not perfect. Some people have a heavy job load and they need some lighter. So things have changed. The way that we do business has changed, and it's as busy as we are. So it's something, a comprehensive project where we kind of take things apart. Potentially, we may look at, and Justin's idea was to look at a person to come in and help us with some of that. That's a project that's important to us. And the update salary schedules is, I want to point to be fair with people, to make sure that the salary schedules work correctly, and then to also make sure that we are competitive. Which is tough for a little town, but at least be more competitive as well.
And if I can interject in that, in my experience, that's kind of a thing that you should do, again, as part of your usual checks and balances. Every once in a while, you do a job analysis. What is everybody doing as far as their workload to make sure that you're running as efficiently? And certainly in a city like this where we haven't grown a lot of employees, but we've grown a lot of, the public, and the public was putting more demands on the same number of employees. And so that is something, because if in the future we decide we do need more staff, then that would be the starting point that would identify this is what you need to start thinking about in the future and start saving up for. We recommend that you do this, and it's usually an HR type person to do that. It would be, I recommend that highly.
And our insurance company has a great HR program that helps us with some of these. Well, I hope they're great. It was a little tough through the handbook situation, but they might be able to help us as well.
Yeah, and that's all part of, again, keeping your staff healthy and happy too, which is big in a community like this where we're all competing for the same employees, and we want you to stay happy.
You guys got a consultant cost, yeah?
Not yet.
No, we just got it on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll be working towards it, and through budget season, we're going to have to do some things, but it's a larger project. Any other questions about City Hall or the administration portion, or any ideas that you have that you think that the city should add into that section? We have time. Tonight's not the only night that we can do this.
I like the progress that I like the progress that you all have made with the online stuff, but it's still not super easy to navigate through that. So I think that if that's not on this year's list, it needs to be on next year's list. We need to get a professional in here to work on that, because everybody's online now, and they should be able to pop in and look, pull up our website and find information about code. You should be able to find, some of the stuff that I struggled to find when I first moved here. As far as can I cut my tree down, can I not cut my tree down? I had to come down here and have some meetings that didn't make any sense to me at the time. So I like that we're doing that. I like the progress that you're making with the blog. I'd like to keep us going in that direction.
Okay.
Whether that's a part-time employee or full-time employee somewhere down the road, that's probably the future also.
Well, the website update, we have a company that can do it, the company that's currently doing our website, and they do have improvements that they want us to make. We just haven't been able to get there yet.
Yeah, I'd like to put in a search function where I can put in something I want to search for and have it find it for me. Because it's really, really hard to navigate our system as far as that goes, because for somebody like me who's not super computer.
I was hinting upon that with that document, digitizing all of our documents, things like that. That's gonna be one of the first steps in that. That'll make the rest of it a lot easier. We have some really old ordinances that people should be able to read.
Well, and also if you do that, it would relieve the burden on our staff too, because I'm sure a lot of the calls that they're getting are, this, that, and I'm sure a lot of folks are trying to do the research and it would be a lot easier for them to just be able to go online and find it there too. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, I put that down. I'll update that on this as well.
Okay, Chad, I want to finish this by 30.
Okay, sorry.
That's
Okay.
all right.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we have some of the park items in here, Trails End, all parks and dunes, Leslie Miller. These are items that came out of the Parks Master Plan of some of the things that people wanted to do. Leslie Miller was left alone. The only thing I was really put in there is don't do anything but irrigate it to get rid of the stickers potentially. So that's a potential project. Trails End, these are all the projects. I'm not recommending that we get them all done this year. But I think that some of the important parts, the steps and the ramp to improve accessibility from Pacific Way, it may not take $40,000 to do that. That's the high side. But I think that's one that maybe should come up.
Right.
In its importance.
3 handrails, gravel, and 3 2x6 on edge as steps. Let them walk down, walk up, just,
Your heart would natural way.
no, we don't need concrete.
I agree with you. I was thinking about that before this, but when we had this conversation the other day, it struck a chord.
Yeah.
I think that we did a lot of good work with the playground equipment to make it look like it was more natural, and then so why throw a bunch of concrete up. Yeah. So those are things that the planning commission and city council are gonna have to kind of come together as to what they want in the future, and we gotta figure out a way to get that to you. Any other questions about that? Trails in. Ladderette Garden, that's on, I think, is it C or D? E. Way off. Little tiny park, one of the smaller parks in your heart. It's about quarter the size of this room, and just some landscaping and potentially a new bench also. I did have the bench on here with a cost, but as the mayor pointed out, we had a lot of people waiting to pay for benches, so why did I do that? So we'll be looking at that in the future. All parks, we talked about additional trash receptacles. That's something that I think we can accomplish this year. Signage at parks is necessary, but especially at the trailheads to the beach. Those signs are pretty old and coming apart. Some of them are Department of Forestry, or excuse me, Parks Department things. City to approve 3 park bench types. We're working on that. I've got somebody helping me, kind of looking at different bench types. But I did want to tell you that we moved the dune benches west, and the maintenance of the benches, just found out today that it looks like we just got a donation for about $20,000 to have somebody come in, look at refinishing those benches, clean up the area around them, and then potentially also, depending on Parks and Recreation, Department of Oregon, move them forward from where they are now because of the dune accretion, and then get them a little bit farther ahead. So that donation came from Charlie Shea, his foundation, and Linda Shea. And so we're still working out the details, but I just found out about that today.
We need to get a letter of thank you to them.
Oh, we will. I will see that I know it's coming, and then we'll work out some details as well.
Okay.
Dunes, ongoing, mowing the noxious weed removal, and we already talked about devising a dune vegetation management plan. Police Department accreditation, one of our goals. I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna cost, it might not be that much, but in time and effort, it's going to be a bigger project, and that accreditation will help our, future police officers with their training and things. And then also, this is the project that our new fire or police chief, will be able to take on once he gets settled. So I don't have a timeline of exactly how it's gonna work, because first we have to find a police chief. And along with that is the department policy update, getting involved in Lexipol. That's a company that puts together procedures. We've been working on that in the fire department for over 3 years. It's a big project, but the fire department's been trying to do it on their own through volunteers and things like that, so it's taken some time. We're hoping through that policy update fairly quickly. I think those are going to be the first 2 major things that the chief will want to work on, which includes the training program as well. And then remodel the offices, that's just making it work a little bit better for them. Hopefully being able to figure out some more space. We intend to have 3 officers, potentially more in the future. So we'll have to talk about how we can do that. Any questions about the police department or anything else that you think we should add? Okay. Fire department, we are looking, what they are looking at is feasibility and devising a plan for replacing 2 vehicles that need to be replaced. 2923 is one of our fire engines that is aging out. And 2935 is a fire tender that is also aging out and is quite useful. Those both need to be updated. Grants, number 1, number 2, if we can't get the grants for those, that becomes critical. We'll have to go potentially with the voters, for like what we've done in the past is we've got a 5-year loan, pay that off fairly quickly to buy a truck. But we'll have some more information. We're going to work on that. Remodeling our offices and replacing the city fire station. How we go about that, we need to start putting together some planning. Is that a citizens community to start with? Change that process so it works. It's much more open for people. People have much more opportunity to talk. Those are things that we're looking forward to doing. So I don't know if that's on this year, but it's something that I think we need to continue to be thinking about.
What do we do with the fire agents and the fire tender that haven't been replaced?
Once we're done with it,
Yeah, what do we do with people?
we sell them. And sometimes we give them away, but I think that there's still some value to these. There are departments around the world, and so this is a liability issue. And replacing these vehicles both for insurance services to set your insurance rates. We have to have the appropriate equipment that's not too old. It's also FPA rules that the equipment needs to be replaced because it just does age out. There are departments that have no choice. They have to use old equipment. They don't have an opportunity. They don't have the money. So that's usually where these things get sold to. We have helped with our previous rescue. Give that to Hamlet. They're still using it. I don't know how, but those guys are duct taping them where they're great. But yeah, so. Any other questions about the fire department?
Yeah, that definitely needs to stay on there as far as timeline. We'll have to look at that. There was a previous, in this Congress, there was a previous bill introduced before the House in, I think it was 2020, that would work towards authorizing grants, FEMA grants, to cities like us that needed to build critical infrastructure. And it just pretty much died on the vine. It didn't have bipartisan support. However, my brother-in-law is a congressman, and he said that just came across his desk. It's getting a little bit of traction. They're looking at it. Maybe the reason they're looking at it is because an almost identical bill was introduced in the Senate just before the election. So it's something we need to look on. Something like that usually takes a bit of time to get going, but that's something that we need to watch as we're going through this, and we need to, our timeline needs to fit in with it. And I'm not saying that we would qualify for something like that. I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things that we need to keep an eye out for. So we need to do it well, but then we also need to get our timing down. And I think we are going to need citizen involvement this time too.
I'm really looking forward to having kind of, there's been zero, monies available for these kind of projects because they are very expensive and they're hard to fund.
Well, as
So
I get
it's-
more information on that, what I'll do is let everybody know what we can do to make sure that we're putting pressure on the folks that we need to put pressure on to get something, to make them understand that we want bipartisan support for that. We want that to happen for us.
Thank you. Public Works, this is in addition to the things that are already on the projects list that we have here. But one of the things that's important to us this year is to certify and train backup water treatment operator. This is something to, as a backup to Mark, currently his guys can run the system, but for short periods of time, but we need to find or promote a person that is fully certified and is focused on the water treatment facility. So more to come with that, because there might need to be some budgetary adjustments in the future, and who knows if this is an additional employee, but those are something that we need to work on. Water meter replacement we talked about, water meter study we talked about, water loss. And then the last is the security upgrade for the water treatment plant. I'm working on some quotes for that now, but the security does definitely need. Signs and things that are already on here. Is there anything else that for Public Works that's on your mind at the moment?
I just have a comment. I met with Mark McFadden a couple of years ago because I wanted to tour of the water treatment plant, and what he does is so amazing and so technical. I asked him, don't you ever get to go on vacation? And he said, even then, he knows he could be a call away, so I approve getting a replacement or a backup for him.
Yeah, it's also part of the future. We would like to see a smooth transition when Mark decides to retire, which Mark can retire, I think, in 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, what he did was just amazing.
You're talking about a full-time person.
A person that will be definitely more focused on there, whether or not it's a full-time, I'm not sure if that's important at the moment, because we do have such a small team that we all have to be multifaceted. So it'll be a person that will work along with Mark, make all the decisions, work with the maintenance, work with, Kim, but then also be available to help dig a ditch when necessary.
Kind of like our chief of police is gonna be.
Right.
Kind of like everybody around here.
Yeah.
We have multiple jobs.
Yeah, supervisor gets to work.
So that's Public Works. And again, just to let you know that this is not a final complete, this can be adjusted at any meeting or at any time. So if you come up with ideas, this is a lot of information. It's more about trying to get it out there and get you thinking about these things. Under planning, again, we're talking about that ridge path extension feasibility study. It's been on the goals list. I'm not sure if we're going to prioritize that. There's a lot of challenges with it. Urban growth boundary review, that's some of the things that we're kind of peeking around in, just trying to figure out how and where and what the potential is and whether or not the city of Gearhart can even do it, depending on with our growth rate and our building process. But I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered in there, and there's some potential things that we can do. Comprehensive plan update, that's a big project. That's many public meetings. That's a lot of getting the public involved, talking about concepts and things. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to accomplish that or get it started this week, but I think it's something that we need to start thinking about and maybe parsing out smaller pieces of it. But I'm not sure how to do that, but that's also planning commission working on that. Parking and camping ordinances we talked about, and the zip code project we talked about as well. On the last page, goals they have. Some of them are redundant, but these are the things that they've been working.
How often do you present this to us? Since I've been here, I think I saw it maybe my first city council meeting, and then I've seen it now. I would like to see this 4 times a year so that we can, not forget what our goals are and look to our measurement and see or where we've made progress and where we've not made progress?
Yeah, I'm picking up that that's a priority, I think, for all of us, and it's part of that dashboard project as well. And whether or not it's quarterly or that the goals are just laid out in a little bit easier situation, a better list. And it could even be included monthly.
Well, I mean, this isn't an unusual document many agencies use. This would be good enough for me until you have some progress on that. If you could just, quarterly give it to us with our city council packet, and so that we can just at least look at it. We don't even have to spend any time talking about it unless there's something very important to talk about, but just so that we are forced to not forget this and know what's going on.
So that's what I have. That gives you an idea of some of the things we're working on for the city. And this is also your opportunity to talk about some things that you would like to work on if you come up with any. Again, this isn't your only opportunity, but some of these things and the priorities of them are going to help us with our budgeting process as well. A lot of these things are in tune with what my desires are as far as operations for the city and the improvement that we want to make to our operations. And that's really what I want to focus on this year. But it doesn't mean we don't have time or energy or the capacity to look at some other things when if you're interested. So going from that, we've identified the goals that we have. What do you have to add? Or what are your comments? Would you like another meeting?
Yes. I'd like to be able to sit down out of this meeting and look at what I've written on my papers and then start marking things and then come back and say, well, I like this and I don't like that. I give this a 3 and this a 4, this a number 1. I mean, we did discuss that, but that's what I would prefer. I don't know what the rest of the council wants to do.
That's an excellent idea. We go away, we think about it ourselves, and then we score what are going to be our priorities. One thing we didn't talk about were the pickleball courts. Because that's, we are or we're not going to add.
Well, that is going to be up to Wally and his crew as well. What we've told them, so we're applying for the grant to refinish, but Wally and his group are going to have, they're going to come to us, we're going to assist them on going for a conditional use permit, to potentially change those courts and have those meetings. We haven't gotten there, but I have had multiple conversations with Wally telling him what that looks like. And when he has the energy to get that going, then we'll get started on it. And that's a planning commission starts there. So that process is kind of what we do on a daily basis anyway. So that's rolling. We're just kind of waiting for Wally to help.
Right, and that's a 3-month process, isn't it? Conditional use with the hearing and everything.
Once we, get the application, then it's a 45-day process until a meeting. And then you have your meeting that goes through, and potentially it's done in 1 or 2. So yes, it could turn into a 3-month process. My conditional use for the park only took 1 month, but we got it in 45 days in advance, got to 1 meeting, got it done. I think that pickleball is going to be a little bit more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, when you say we are applying for it, the city is applying for the grant
Yes.
with your assistance?
No.
Okay, so that will be ours. So regardless of whether we change anything up there, it will be resurfaced, will protect at least what's existing.
If we get the grant.
If we get the grant, okay, and if not, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get the grant and then we start heading towards pickleball, I'll figure that out.
Okay, so again, maybe that's something that we need to add somewhere on there, because regardless of whether we get the grant or not, the surface up there right now, the longer we leave it, the more damage there's going to be.
Yeah. All right, planning.
So let's come up, hope for plan A, and if it doesn't work, then we'll.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
So that's a lot of information. I think what we'll do is we'll clean up the list and we'll get those to these additional items that are on there. In a way that you can check them off. We've done and then add in any others that you have. And then I'll look at the agenda and see if we can add this as a discussion point during the next city council meeting, which is almost in 2 weeks. I don't know if that's enough time for you, but we are getting into the budget season, so I would like to have a small conversation during the next city council meeting to get started.
Okay.
If that's all right with you folks?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
No.
Okay.
I say with a smile.
Okay. My apologies for sharing in those trees. We're gonna get there. I'm sorry I didn't make that happen, but we'll get there. Got a lot on our plate.
Anyone have anything else? Chad, do you have anything else? Adjourn.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.